So we're going to gain a lot of knowledge today. In case I've come in a bit late, we're Women's L.I.K, and it stands for Laughs, Ideas and Knowledge. We're going to gain a lot of knowledge today. I might have repeated myself. We've got some amazing guests today. We've got Jenny Russell. She's the Hot Body Empowering Lives Coach. And she's going to be all talking about health and happiness for the pelvic floor. And ladies, we do have to be happy down there, don't we? It's important. I know it is. We're also going to be joined by Roshan Dorsett from the Grocery Shop. She's going to be telling us about her vegan beauty products. And I'm really interested in that.
Oh, that sounds good.
It does sound really good. And we've got, hopefully, Derek Cutter Clement, who is a celebrity hairstylist. He did have problems coming into the show, so we're hoping that he does show up today. So, ladies, it's our second show. Tell me, look, I'm going on holiday tomorrow. I'm going to Bournemouth.
Okay.
It's not Barbados, but it's still a B.
It begins with a B.
Yeah, it's better than now. So, have you got any holidays planned or anything booked?
I have actually. I'm going to Brighton this time next week.
Wow, I love it there
for a long weekend. But I think Bournemouth's got a really nice beach, whereas I think
lovely beach.
Brighton's kind of a bit pebbly, so
it is pebbly, but it's still a beautiful place. Though.
Yes, I know. I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to a farmhouse in Gloucestershire, so we can take the dog. So it'll be like home from home. I won't have to cook anything, and I just can't wait. Really looking forward to that.
Good for you.
Yes.
Well, look. I've got to mention this because Angela desperately wanted me to mention about wearing, should I say undergarments? Should I say panties with pajamas? Angela, what are your thoughts on wearing knickers and pajamas? It's got to be mentioned.
Actually, no, this came about because I was listening to Women's Hour on Monday, and they were talking about what do women think is right. You know, do you wear knickers, panties, undergarments underneath your pajama bottoms?
Yes.
With pajama bottoms or without? And I'm thinking, without. I'm sorry. That's not nice, because somebody was saying you're having to wash your pajama bottoms every day. I'm thinking, well, you put your pajamas on your kids, you put them in, you put their pants on, and then you put the pajama bottoms. I couldn't even dream or even think about wearing pajamas without pants on. Well, the 90s different, because you can get a bit of fresh air down there, but
to each their own. If you want to put your undercrackers on, put them on. It's up to you. I'm not fussed either way. To each their own. I know people find comfort in just having their pajamas on.
Yeah.
So that's like letting it all hang out. To each their own. Yeah. But what about you, Suzy? What do you think?
Well, for me, I mean, if you're going to wear something in bed, first off,
Suzy doesn't wear anything.
I like fresh air. I can just imagine. I'm just wondering, do you think Angela's got like socks on in bed as well? If you got socks and a dressing gown on.
Rollers.
Actually, I have done before when it's been really cold.
I remember wearing rollers in bed, but we won't go there.
Those were the days. Well, look, without much further ado, let's welcome our first guest, Jenny Russell, to the show. So can we bring on Jenny, and let's hear all about her as well. Let's see what she's got to say.
Welcome, Jenny. Woohoo!
Hello. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, Jenny.
Welcome.
Thank
Jenny,
you.
look, hope you're okay. So look, you're described as the Hot Body Empowering Lives Coach. Tell us how that all started, but don't talk about pelvic floor as yet. We want to just build up to that, okay?
Yeah.
Well, there's two sides to that, isn't it, really? So I'll leave the pelvic floor to one side then. The empowerment is a part of that pelvic floor journey, but it really kind of blossomed and came to its own in lockdown. So, I'd done a talk for Black History, October 2019. And I met a load of beautiful women, and I'd signed them up for assessments, and they took their time, and they came in between January and February. Then we locked down in March. And it's like, right, what am I going to do with these women? So I created this Empowering Lives group. I took everything online. And most of those women, even though they came it was all about how to live a fabulous life after 50. Even though they came for that, they have this history. People have this history. I did a talk online once, and a lady said, how long, exactly what she said to me, how long do I need to drag my baggage around with me before I let it go? So that's what we're doing as women. We're dragging stuff around and thinking, how long? Yeah. But my whole thing is based on forgiveness. I was given this line from God, finally free to forgive. And it really, the free is in capitals, and it stands for fear removed, enlightened, encouraged, or faith restored, empowered, enabled. But all those, it's a journey: fear removed, faith restored, enlightened, empowered, encouraged, enabled. It's that 8-step journey to allowing yourself to let go of the stuff that's actually holding you back, that's actually taking up space in your mind, in your body, in your organs, rent free, and destroying you as a person, whilst the person you have the grievance against is doing whatever they want to do. It's not affecting them. It doesn't affect the air they breathe or the money they earn.
I like that. I really like that answer. I've got to say this. Look, we've got your name going off across the screen, and it is spelt wrong. We're missing an L on there, and we know it's a double
missing
L.
an L. Yeah, double
so
L.
We want to apologise about that. It is Jenny Russell with two L's, guys. Yeah.
My late father there. I'm just letting you know.
Sorry about that. Love the photo. But look, you're actually, you competed in an ultra fit championship in the 90s. Tell us more. How did you get involved? You must be a very fit lady to do something like that.
Do you know, it's really funny because I was teaching loads of classes. So my journey started late 80s. I qualified as an exercise to music coach and a fitness instructor. I hate that word, instructor, by the way. And I was just teaching loads of classes. And then 91, 92, I went on holiday to Barbados for my friend's wedding. And a guy came and covered my class. And when he'd finished, he said to me, there's the Ultra Fit Championships, and I don't think anybody's fitter than you. So I was like, whatever. But I did it in 93 and I came third. I gave birth to my son in 94, so I didn't come back to 95. And in 95, there was a lady that had competed in 94, and she got Sky Sports to come down so they could film her being the fittest person. But in 95, I came back. My son was 8 months, and not only did I win the competition, but I actually became the record holder that year, and I've been the record holder ever since. So that was it. So from there, I kind of competed for 8 years. I have 8 medals, 3 golds, 4 silvers, a bronze, record holder. My
goodness, you are like Superwoman. You're an inspiration. It's amazing. Wow. Underwear on the outside, girl.
No, none in bed. She's right.
Amazing.
You need to let that breathe at night.
Of course we do. Of course we do. I like it. We're going to talk about pelvic floor. I know that Suzy's got some questions. I'm going to let Suzy ask a couple because I know you want to ask about the pelvic floor. She's dying to know about it.
Well, Jenny, it's really lovely to talk to you. And I love that your father is there behind you. And I think it's great to always reflect on the presence of the ancestors as we go on our journey. And I think that's wonderful. I noticed that straight away. So let's talk pelvic floor. So, I mean, I've had 2 kids and I know what that means, the cough and sometimes, the stress around the body at that time. So just explain for our viewers who don't know, what is a pelvic floor?
I think the easy way to do it, if you take your hands and cup them like this, it's literally this basin that sits at the base of your trunk. So it lives obviously on the inside of the pelvis. It is the foundation of the trunk because it's the underline, it's the undercarriage, so to speak. So what happens is the legs come into the pelvis, thus they affect the pelvic floor, the butt, the pelvic floor. The trunk sits on the pelvis, thus it affects the pelvic floor, the arms into the trunk, head. So everything meets in this center. It's it's also the gateway that allows our inner and outer worlds to meet. So it has a massive job to do of actually its everyday role is to stabilize the pelvis, stabilize the spine, and actually have a big role in posture and gait and movement ability. But we always just think of it as these muscles that are there for sex and babies. So we don't actually think about what they do every day. So we have, in terms of going to the gym and flattening your tummy and in shaping your butt and your thighs and improving your posture, it plays those roles every day. And then its other roles are continence, as we know, as you said, the cough, and then sex and babies. So that's its kind of reward. Great sex is its ultimate reward, but its everyday reward actually gives you the things that you really want. But we're not aware of that. We only think of the pelvic floor as those muscles that only come to life once a baby's born. And that's the mistake we make.
Yeah, that's a fantastic description. I think thinking in terms of the base of our body, like the roots, I'm thinking of like the root chakra. It's the roots of all of those bits of our body. So that's a great description. So in terms of your business, what made you decide on focusing on that part of the body particularly?
I didn't. God, listen, I know one thing. God has a path for everybody. And this is my path that I found by default. So as I said, I qualified as an exercise to music coach in the 80s. In the 90s, we were doing loads of classes. And then one of my best friends, he had a child. And back then, he made a throwaway comment, second child. And he brought my attention. It wasn't being horrible. Yes. He just said, oh my God. And I put it in this first book here. He just said, oh my God, Jenny, now I know what they mean when they say it's like dipping your wick in a well, which is like, whoa. Hold on, does that mean after I have a child, my sex life is over? That was not going to be my destiny. So in all the classes, we were just doing loads of squeezes. Me and my late friend Annette, we used to say we were part of the pinhead posse. So like this whole thing, have the baby and come back down to here, kind of thing. And so I started to muck about with it. But in 2000, I started working at the Harbour Club in Chelsea. And in 2001, Paul Check came over, C-H-E-K, and he brought over the big Swiss ball. He brought, as you can see behind me, he brought the balls over, and he said that there was a relationship between the lower abdominals, the transverse abdominals, and the pelvic floor. And if you didn't have function of the lower abdominals, you would never have full function of the pelvic floor. But this is in 2001, after I was, on Sky, the fittest woman of, the best press ups of the day for men and women on Sky Sports. I'd been in magazines year after year. This is when after I'd been competing into my last year. And I was thinking, don't you know who I am? But I said, it really was. He gave us this stick and put the stick on our back and aligned our body. And when you do ultra fit, you have to do 30 press ups. When he put this little wooden stick on my back, I couldn't do 10. And that made me think, well, what is this? So I'm a person that if I can't, I must. So I was happy to relearn. And so I relearned all that. But at that time I was single. And so sex was the only exercise I wasn't having or doing or practicing. So when I'd done this for like a year, retrained the muscles and came back, I met this guy. God, didn't really bless him that well. But
sorry,
if I was a smoker, I'd have had a cigarette. But I realized later on it wasn't him, it was me. It was the one thing I hadn't put back into my program. And that's how the first book was born. Actually writing, can a vagina really buy a Mercedes? Rhetorical question, washing the dishes. What can your pelvic floor do for you? And it's really looking at the relationship with the transverse abdominals and the pelvic floor and their impact on sexual function. But once I'd done that and I moved on, I was doing classes and I would be talking about it. And then it was like, oh, I've had a child, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, I'm wetting myself. Can you help me? And so that's where Pelvic Floor Secrets came from. I then wrote the books. I realized there's a lot of people out there and the research needs to be done. And we don't have the information so that we can actually go, oh, okay, when I go to the doctor, I can say to him, I'm experiencing this, this, and this. And I know this, this, and this. You get a different outcome to when you go to the doctor, I'm leaking.
Yes, yeah. And I think what you're giving people through your books is empowerment and knowledge and the confidence to understand what's going on. I think when you've had a baby, particularly in later life, you can feel quite vulnerable about talking about these issues. So I think it's really great that those resources are out there for men and women. So first of all, finally of all, just talking, you sort of touched on it there, but this whole concept of the pelvic floor and the happiness, it seems like a long stretch, but as you described it, it's actually, they go hand in hand, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
Pelvic floor happiness. So talk us through that again, just so people can really understand and embed that idea of, how can I get the life I want and live full and happy life through exercising my pelvic floor muscles?
Okay. So if I say, if we look at our house, we look at anything we've got, as beautiful as your house is, the studio in wherever you are, it's not the studio or the house that makes it fantastic. It's the foundation. It's what you can't see. That's the pelvic floor. It's the foundation. If the foundation is stable, the house will stand. If the foundation of the trunk, the pelvic floor is stable, posture and movement will be great. So posture is really kind of described as a position from where all movement begins and ends. Right. So, and if the pelvic floor has an impact on that, then you've got to think about movement ability. So if it is strong, then things like continence will be something that you'll experience all the time. My mum was 85 last Saturday. She suffers from dementia, but I thank God that with 6 children back to back, she is not a woman that has to cough and worry about leaking. That's 6 children back to back. Wow. But then you see, they worked. When they were in Barbados, you had to go to the standpipe and fill the pot and put it on the head and carry it. So you got to think she knew how to squat. That transverse was firing on all 4 cylinders. The pelvic floor was working because it should actually fire and kind of do this lifting up and spread across so that the organs stay in their natural position. Prolapses are just a position where the organ has become weak or the posture is out or the hormones are out or the diet's out. There's so many things to it. So it kind of all links in. And you mentioned root chakra. It is the base of that root chakra. It's linked to our emotions. our sex and relationships, how we see ourselves. And if we have a bad experience, it goes downstairs. It has a potential to shut it off. If we have a bad experience and we're full of anger, we change our breathing. Well, the diaphragm sits underneath the chest. It's the biggest pump in the body, but there's also a diaphragm in the pelvis. They work together. They do this pumping action. If these things aren't working in concert, we're in trouble. So we have to make sure that everything, when we look at the pelvic floor, we have to look at what's in here. How does it affect us hormonally, emotionally, in terms of our breath? How are we hydrating? Ligaments have an elastic limit, and I'm going fast. Ligaments have an elastic limit, right? But if you have poor posture and you stretch one way, if your pelvis is tilted excessively too far forward, and that's that kind of cut butty thing we all want now, well, think about where the bladder sits, right? So at the back, you've got the rectum. In the middle, you have the uterus. At the front, you have the bladder, and then you have the pubic bone here. If you tilt it too far forwards, then that means everything has a potential to fall forwards. If you're a person, and a lot of women of Black and Caribbean and African descent are full of emotional baggage, that emotional baggage has the potential to block the colon. If we eat 3 meals a day, and after 7 days, we had 21 meals, but we've only had one bowel movement. Well, a compacted colon can weigh as much as 10, 14 pounds. That's a stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So that, remember now, you've got this tilted pelvic because you want to lift your bum up and look good and sexy, right? So you've got this tilted here. These poor ligaments are being stretched on this side, which means the sphincters that hold the bladder shut are being pulled slightly. So that can increase the potential to leak. Then you've got this, 10 pound, 14 pounds of doo-doo, which means you're really full of doo-doo, really. And it's pressing on the uterus, which is then pressing on the bladder. And then you've got this, increased stretch on the ligaments. You've got an increased potential for leakage here. But also what sits in between is the uterus. Well, if you're of a young age, then, and this uterus, it's not getting a work out of this uterus. If your breathing is compromised, then the natural rocking motion of all the organs is compromised, because that's what gives them their vitality. So now you've got this compacted colon pressing on this poor uterus that hasn't had the chance to start to incubate babies. So you can make it weaker. This can give you increased heavy periods, menstrual cramps, even clotting. And then you've got this weak bladder. But you look good though.
You look good. I mean, it just says to me that, everything is a whole. We are a whole human system, and we have to take care of the whole thing. And even though it's nothing we can see, it impacts how we look and how we feel. And it's fascinating to learn about it. And I'm going to listen intently as Angela asks some more questions to you. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Suzy. Jenny, I'm just kind of like, wow. I've not had to think about it, and I just wanted to ask this question because I know for three of you, you kind of had babies naturally. I had 2 cesareans, so I've not really had to think about that. So my question is, even though my children haven't come through my birth canal, is it a case? And I'm just making this assumption that I just still practice the pelvic floor. I mean, you tell me. I'm really curious about that.
Because you move every day, don't you?
Yes, and I still practice it, but I just assumed, as all women would do, whether they'd had their children naturally or not. So,
well, this is a misconception. I think a lot of people think that because they've had the children naturally, by cesarean, they don't have to have the same considerations as those who've had the children naturally. Now, yes, you haven't had to go through the whole expansion and contraction phase for the vagina and vaginal wall. But again, it could be a nutritional issue for you. If we got to think the abdominals are a set of muscles, and their job is to actually hold all the organs in their anatomical position. That's their job, to try and keep the organs where they belong. But if we allow our poor diets, distended bellies, people hate exercise, so there's no contour, no conditioning, and no contour there.
My battery's running low. I'm really sorry. I'm just going to have to move before it dies. Hold on.
This is reality, everyone. So this does happen. We do apologise about that. So this is reality.
That's right.
She's not as organised as me and Suzy.
I'll hold that statement.
Okay, brilliant.
Sorry, I'm glad you're still there, Jenny. I just had visions of you everybody just me just shutting off and going. That's bad planning on my part, so I apologise.
That's all right.
That's right. In connection to that, I wanted to also ask as well about what kind of results have you seen from some of your clients or patients in the promotion that you've been doing?
Do you know, I think one of my best testimonies with, so I'll give you two ends of the spectrum. I'll give you one for the Empowering Lives, and I'll give you one for Pelvic Floor. So we'll start with Pelvic Floor first. So I mean, I've worked with Pelvic Floor clients professionally as a business since 2009. So that's what, 11 years, right?
Yeah.
But I've been in this game for obviously I published the first book in 2005, since the late 90s. But I had a client come to me in Harley Street, and she had urge incontinence as a child. So back then, teachers used to tell parents to beat their children because they thought there was just laziness. There's a lot of stigma around thinking that leaking, for children leaking as in childhood and in nursery and in primary school is a laziness issue when it's got so many different connotations to it. So they used to keep her clothes in the head teacher's office, so she never used to change all the time. So now that's going to cause more stress and cause more problems. Yeah. So into adulthood now, she's had her 2 children, but they had a lot of problems. She had no real sensory feeling downstairs. Obviously, the connection to it is not a good connection. And she hadn't been able to feel her husband for they'd been married 27 years, and she'd never been able to feel her husband inside of her. So that's major. And he couldn't feel her either. So that was a massive thing. But 3 months, and he was able to feel her, and she was able to feel him after 27 years.
Wow, that is
I had a client who had a uterine prolapse. She'd been going to physio for 8 months, no changes, 6 weeks. So then I was invited. For me, it's humbling when the husbands want to meet me. Who is this woman? I want to meet her. And it's like, thank you for giving me my wife back. It's like, this part of the life that's been missing can make such a massive change to everything. The first lady, even down to being able to dance and to move, she was just shut off emotionally. So I even taught her to dance. Her kids used to say, it's embarrassing if mum goes somewhere, but they were high society people. These are high society people. And I was able to help her to actually hear and feel that music and then go out and dance with her husband. So there were so many facets to that, to feel him, to dance with him, to have that level of confidence after not having it for 27 years. That, was amazing. Yeah. But then I've got another client, the clients here who have come along and they've had lots of different emotional things. And one of my clients now, from February last year, she came to me with this whole emotional baggage. And now 1 year on, she was my guest speaker at my International Women's Day workshop online on 8th of March. And she's now created her own business. She's in the process of finalizing and publishing her book. This is in 1 year. And her list of giving people was 14 people long. So, the person that came here in February 2020 and the person that stands before me now is 2 different people. I've seen the changes in these women's lives. I can't explain it. All I know is I've said to them, you've got to learn to forgive. And it's, I think they think we've lost the plot. But the fact that when we get to that point where we're willing to embrace something that may seem unconventional, that has the potential to actually give you the peace that you've never experienced, give you the body shape that you didn't think you could still have after 50, change your nutrition and lifestyle habits and eat foods that you'd swore you'd never eat, and now you're eating them. It's, all you can do every day is look up and say, you know what, God, thank you. I don't know how I'd have done it without you. That's all I can say. If I can help somebody get the best out of themselves by actually understanding that the stuff that's inside of them that doesn't need to stay there can actually be replaced by things that can actually enhance them in every other area of their life, then, I've done my job.
Wow, that is amazing. Just, by the work that you're doing, pelvic floor exercise and the impact that can have on people's lives is just phenomenal. It's on a different scale altogether. I know you've been pointing behind you, talking about your book. So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the book?
Yes, I've got 2 there. So the first one, there's only a few of them left now. So I'm going to publish it in 2005. Although I want to do a reprint, actually. I've got them here. So the first one, and it was a rhetorical question. I was just washing the dishes and looking out the window, and the title just dropped into my head. So,
I was going to say you're going to show it to us. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it just dropped into my head.
That's a cool picture. I love it.
Yeah, and I tried to get the number plate as well.
I was going to
love it.
2005, my son was like, no, he's only 11. He's like, Mum, if you get that number plate, don't pick me up from school. Don't come to get me. He was so scared. He was really, really scared. But I want to
question is, even how old is your son now?
He was 27 on the 14th.
How would you feel about you getting a number plate now? That's just something for, yeah.
He's like, I don't think you're still getting the car.
Exactly.
Get in the car like that. So that was the first one. And then this one came out in 2013. And by comparison, at first I thought the title was quite lame. But actually, it's what's your pelvic floor secret? And it's suddenly realizing that so many women have got one. Is your pelvic floor secret one that empowers you? You walk around with this. I mean, the subtitle, 6 weeks to confidence, continence, and sexual satisfaction. To try and find a woman that exude that picture took hundreds. I had black pictures, white pictures, pink pictures, you name it. Yeah. But to find someone that looked like they were the epitome of confidence, continence, and sexual satisfaction. My brother's wife is Irish, and my niece, when she was 4, she's like, "That's mummy." I'm like, "No, it's not." It's so sweet. But I have spoken word on it. So one of the things I wanted to just quickly say before my time runs out is that, we have this name vagina, and we find it really hard to say it. A lot of women there will call it every other derogatory name under the sun, which I don't understand. But then in 2017, I was just given this spoken word that just dropped. These things just keep dropping into my head. And if you take away the VA, which literally I thought, well, this number plate's been given to me, it was really in my face for like 16 years before I noticed it, or 10 years. So take away the VA, you've got Gina, right?
Gina, yeah.
So she has a name already. It's Gina. And if you look up what Gina means, Gina is Italian for queen. So we actually have a queen, which is the gateway that links our inner and outer worlds, right? Now, does the queen or any queen allow anybody into a company? That's what we need to start thinking about.
I like that.
Then you've got your VA. So what are you going to do with the VA? Well, all you need to do with your queen is make her vibrantly appealing. Then she becomes vibrantly appealing Gina, the most sought after girl I know. The entrance to a gateway that brings love, life, and flow. Yet many underrate her and call her all kinds of names. Not understanding Gina may cause a life of hurt and shame. And then it kind of goes on from there. So it's, it's a whole spoken word, but it goes on from there. It's us recognizing that, we want to be a queen, but we all have a queen living. That queen controls how we walk, we move, our swagger, our lower abdominals, our butt shape, our thighs, our posture. It controls us having, dry knickers always and great sex. It controls everything. It brings life. It gives life. It is life. So if we start to recognize that we have a queen within us already, maybe we'll start to treat it differently, try to find out what can we do to make our queen happy,
I love that. Absolutely love that. So just quickly before we go then, Jenny, I'm really interested in the books. I could go on forever. But just before we go, what advice could you give to women who are listening and watching right now who may have problems with their pelvic floor? What kind of tips could you give them that they could start doing?
Well, first of all, I can say to you that there's definitely a solution, right? It's not a life-threatening illness. It's not something that you have. Please don't leave it. It's my number one tip. Please don't leave it. They recognize now that incontinence is the first stage of pelvic organ prolapse. And literally, a bladder prolapse is the front part of the vaginal wall collapsing and the bladder falls in. A rectal prolapse is the back part of the vaginal wall and the rectum prolapsing in. The uterine, so the bladder is the most common. The uterine prolapse is second most common, and that is actually just the top part of the vaginal wall prolapsing and a herniating. So a hernia is just an opportunity, a weak point in the muscle for an organ to push through. And so once we recognize that, we can look at it. It may be nutritional, it may be postural, it may be hormonal, it may be emotional, but there is something you can do. The first thing I would encourage you to do, which might sound really far-fetched, but it's breathing. Breathing is everything. Remember I said the breath is life force energy, and that natural, good, deep breathing gives vitality and gives the organs a natural rocking motion. And that's what you want to have. Then when you're looking at doing pelvic floor exercises, don't think to do the toilet stop. That is not an exercise. That can also help to weaken your pelvic floor. So understand that. But what you've got to think is men have one too. Men have got one too. We still have a pelvis, therefore they have one, right? Just the anatomy is different internally. But what I used to do when I used to do workshops all the time, I used to say, for the purposes of this workshop, I'm going to tell men to bring their testicles from the ground floor to the penthouse, and women to imagine they're drinking through a straw, and imagine the lips are around the straw and you're trying to drink up to the belly button. So if you're embarrassed, you're going to leave now, but no one would leave. I think they're too embarrassed to leave. But it's actually recognizing that what you want to think is, if you put your thumb in your mouth and suck it really hard, you can feel a movement downstairs. If you cough, you feel a movement downstairs. So you know you're connected from here down to there. If you pull the big toes the right way and keep the other toes down, you can feel a movement inside. So you've got to get that sensory connection. You know, if you're struggling with that sensory connection, want some more advice, my website's there. You can give me a call, drop me an email. I'm really happy to help. But it's not as cut and dry as just do this or do that. Don't hold the urine, because that can actually weaken it. Don't hold your breath, because that can weaken it. And, you know, that's one thing. Learn to breathe diaphragmatically. Learn to breathe from your belly. Learn to breathe. When you breathe in, the vagina should open. When you breathe out, you should close. Gina opens and closes, opens. Expansion, contraction. That's what muscles want. They want to expand and contract, full range of movement, and they will keep going. And she will serve you. That queen will serve you until God calls you home, if you look after her.
We look after Gina. I like that. Say, how is your Gina?
Yeah, how really appealing.
Yes. Jenny, thank you so much. I'm going to pass back to Sandra.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much for your time. I've really, I enjoyed that. I've got to be honest with you, while I was listening, I was clenching at the same time. It just happens. You say pelvic floor, I then clench. Sorry, guys, if you're watching, but that's what happens. We're going to bring on our second guest. We're going to say thank you very much for your time, and we're going to see you at the end, if that's okay. It's been really enjoyable having you.
Thank you, ladies.
Very much. Thank you. See you at the end of the show.
Okay.
Andrew, I know you're going to bring on our second guest, but as you're going to bring on the second guest, I think. If you're happy to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Brilliant.
So we've now got, I've forgotten her name.
Well, I'm going
to
she's on it. So yeah, we are going to welcome Roshan Dorsett.
Oh right, thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, she's forgotten already. She's forgotten already. Was she?
No, I know. I was still thinking about Gina and all of that. So
pelvic floor makes you stop.
Yes, and she did say, Jenny did say, we're connected from up here and down there. So I was kind of still just finishing off. Right. Okay. So back to Roshan. Roshan, hi, welcome to Women's Week.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Really interested to hear a little bit more about
definitely. I know, Suzy, you've got some questions for Roshan. Is that to start with?
Yes,
absolutely. Are you ready for me to go, Roshan?
I'm ready.
Lovely to have you on Women's L.I.K. I'm reading some of your background information, and you're quite an interesting lady with a lot of spirit, I would say. So it's a fantastic chance to find out more about who you are. So, but before we start, what was your experience of lockdown, and particularly, personally, but also as a business owner?
Oh, really good question. I think personally, I don't know. I think because I was accustomed to working from home already, it kind of was just like a really, really long extension of that. So yeah, personally wise, I don't think it really. I don't know, and because I work so I describe it as a Caribbean Tesco's, so I was going to work anyway, because it was still, it was considered like essential shopping, so I was still getting a bit of a taste of the outside, so I didn't really feel it as much as people that had to, were used to going out to work, office jobs, and then having to switch to working from their living rooms or their kitchens, basically. So yeah, it was okay. Business-wise, I kind of think it everything just accelerated. I think because people were spending more time on Zooms, looking at their screens, or I suppose spending more time getting to know themselves more, skincare and self-care was really one of the sectors that I think thrived throughout this whole lockdown. So I definitely feel like I was a bit I didn't know lockdown was coming, but I launched the glossary 2 weeks before the UK went into lockdown, and I was a bit like, oh my God, this is not the right time to be starting a business, but having stepped back from it it's actually been a really, really big blessing. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people actually felt the same, even though it was a bit of a shock with lockdown happening. A lot of businesses felt, well, it's now or never, and I need to, you know, pivot and do things a different way and move. If it wasn't online, move it online and work out how it works. And I see you've been very successful in that space. But before we talk about the grocery shop, tell us a little bit about who Roshan is and what makes you tick. What's your journey been like?
Ooh, I definitely feel like it's been, I don't know, up and down. I kind of really got to know myself. I think, yeah, probably in the past like three years, like understanding like what I like, kind of like the energy that I kind of like want to surround myself in. That involves like people, kind of the work that I do. I say I'm very into like the how you describe it as like the law of attraction, so like the secret book about how everything that you want in life that you can manifest, and just making sure that you're within the right vibration to receive it. Like that's definitely how I try and live my life. And I definitely feel like, as I suppose I've got closer to spirit, whatever you want to call it, people might say close to like a religion, I definitely feel like my business side has also kind of gone up as well, because the business kind of is, the grocery is an extension of me. You know, I started it, I have gone plant-based, and the grocery is plant-based, so I kind of feel like as I grow and I learn more about myself, I'm starting to grow and learn more about the business side, and it's really, so yeah, it's a really nice journey. Really nice journey.
So before you were in the grocery, before you set up the grocery, what were you doing? What was your job before that?
Oh, so before the grocery, I was actually working for Amazon. I was a barmaid for like 3 years, and then I left that because I just wasn't saving enough money, and I knew that I wanted to launch the grocery. So I applied and started at Amazon. We was making, I was in the bookmaking department. So when you order like a paperback book from Amazon, they print it so they print the sheets, they bind it together. So I was doing that for 3 months, and actually 3 months before launching the grocery they fired me, so that was nice.
Rude.
They literally, it was 2 days before Christmas as well, which was nice.
God, but they released you to do something else, so you could see with your spiritual way that was the right thing for you to be released to do what you wanted.
Exactly that. At the time I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit harsh, because you know they did kind of sell us the dream that we could stay if we met our targets, and I was one of the ones that met our targets, but it just didn't work out. But actually it did work out, because that allowed me then to focus on the grocery, which I then launched like 3 months later.
Absolutely. And can we go back a little bit more? So you had a legal career?
Yes, so that was the dream. That was the dream. Having graduated from university, I got studied law with criminology, and from ever since, I think I was young, because my mum works in the legal field, so I was seeing her do it, even though she works in real estate, like different side of law. I was seeing her doing it. I was just like, I want to do this, but I want to do it on the criminal defence side. So that's what I was doing. I interned for a couple of years, just working for free in like different like charities and different law firms in London. And then I actually got a job, and I wouldn't say I didn't like the job. I enjoyed the job. I got a lot of job satisfaction from the job, but it was just very intense. And I think now, knowing myself, like knowing that I'm very empathetic, knowing just how, I thrive, or how I kind of like destabilize around bad energy. It was just a lot. Like I was dealing with murder cases every day, really intense crime, like really violent crimes. And I remember coming back home and also I live outside of London, so I was spending 3 hours every day traveling back to and from work. And I just kind of felt like I just didn't have any time for myself. It was constantly go. These graphic images of, it was just a lot. So I ended up leaving that job, basically. I got to a stage where I remember coming home to my mum. I was just like, Mum, I'm just not happy. Like, this is not making me happy. Like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving myself and giving my energy to other people and then coming home and not giving my energy or time to myself. I think I was like 25, I think that was like the quarter life crisis I had, and I basically quit my job and I went to work a summer abroad, and that was like the best experience for me. Like, it kind of reset everything, and then having that time away, I returned to myself, and I was just like, okay, Roshan, what do you actually enjoy? You enjoy natural skincare, you enjoy being creative. Let's actually buckle down and actually see what you can make out of this. And that's when it led me to launching my first business, which, you know, didn't actually get off the ground. Big situation with that, but it eventually led to me to where I am now. So having stepped back and seen the journey, it was meant to happen how it's happened. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So you launched a grocery shop in 2020. So bringing up to date during the sort of craziest year ever in millennia. But there you go. It's a vegan brand. So talk us through your range of skincare products.
Yeah. So as you said, plant-based and cruelty-free. We also have like a sustainability element to it. Is that our hero product is Clean Greens, which is a superfood face serum, and it comes with like a aluminium cap, so people can just keep reusing the dropper. So that helps like combat plastic waste. But yeah, the idea from it really just stemmed from my plant-based diet, and the fact that I feel like one of the most nutritious diets you can have is like a plant-based diet. So that's how we sell the skincare products, as it's going to make your skin look and feel healthy, balanced and glowing. So we use cold pressed vegetable, nut and fruit oils. And how I describe cold pressed oils is like, if you go to like a juice shop, you have the option between like a cold pressed juice and like a juice from concentrate. They're both gonna quench your thirst, but the cold pressed juice is going to offer your body more nutrients. That's the idea. Exactly. So that's the idea of our skincare products, that we use the majority of cold pressed oils, unrefined butters like mango and shea butter as well. And it's just really the idea of feeding your skin. It's what you said, Suzy, when you were speaking to Jenny, is that it's just the whole, like a wholesome approach to like skincare. Like, it's also about, you know, what you eat, but it's also about what you put on your skin. And that's the idea.
Yeah, because your skin's your biggest organ, obviously. Everything your skin is absorbed into your bloodstream. So you think about that. You really think carefully about slapping anything on your face, don't you?
Exactly that, yeah.
That's fantastic. So it's been lovely to talk to you, and I can't wait to hear some more about your fantastic business. And I think I'll definitely like to buy your coconut lip scrub.
Oh yes, that is my favourite. It tastes really nice.
It sounds delicious. I'll probably spend all day just like going like. So thank you for your time. I'm going to pass you on to my colleague Angela for some more questions.
It's lovely speaking to you.
You too.
Yes, Roshan, just right up my street, because I'm just moving into just about now here as a vegan.
Oh, welcome.
I know, and it feels good because I've just been straining my spinach and my, you know, to get my green juice for tomorrow morning. And I'm just like, so hearing you talk about the skincare, I'm like, yes, I'm in 100% from now. Anything coconut flavored, I'm loving it. So because it's vegan, it's cruelty free. What's been the response since you started?
Yeah, the response, you know, has been really great, and I kind of think this is kind of like what I wanted. Like when I, you know, visualized how I wanted the glossary to go, it is on this trajectory, but it did happen very quickly. Like, so I launched in March 2020. By I think it was like June, I had already been featured in British Vogue, Sunday Times Style, Refinery. Yeah, thank you. By the end of that year, I know. By the end of that year, we had already won Women's Health Best Facial of 2020. So everything's just happened like very quickly. We've been featured this morning as well. Like so many amazing like publications. And yeah, I think this year I've kind of taken the time just to sit back and like relish it all. But it's been an enjoyable journey. I love hearing people's like feedback. I love hearing people saying that it's helped my skin issues that I've had for like 10 years and referring it to like friends and family and then joining the community. So it's just a really humbling, enjoyable experience, and I'm really excited for what's coming next. I'm doing new products that I'm working on. So yeah, it's just really been great. It's been a great year so far.
Gosh, so much has happened in such a time as such a time as this, the worst time ever. And in the environment. But that is absolutely amazing, fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I'm already kind of like, I'm in already, but for some people who may be thinking, actually, do you know all this vegan stuff, the kind of woo-woo kind of thing that we always get, why should people buy these products?
I just think even when it comes to like vegans, I'll take it back to like energy, right? Like when you think about the conditions that animals are living in, or the conditions that are involved in like animal testing, it's not a nice environment, right? It's actually quite it's quite energetically, it's really bad. So I just think, why would you then, the ugly side of, I suppose, animal testing and factory farming, how would you then use those ingredients in a product that's meant to make you feel beautiful? Like, to me, it just doesn't really, the connection just really isn't there.
I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of came about. And I suppose veganism, I suppose you get the bad with everyone. Veganism, there are kind of very, I don't know, I'm not the type of vegan that, pop up on it. It's only me and my sister in our family that are vegan, right? And I respect everyone's choices. So I get that sometimes people in the community can be very pushy, that it's my way or the highway. But with the glossary, I kind of take a step back from that and take a more educational approach. Like, instead of getting your omega-3s from salmon, you can get it from lentils and beans, and educating them. If you incorporate these into your diet, then this is beneficial to you. Also, if you use hemp seed oil, which is also very high in omega essential fatty acids, which is what we use in clean greens, this is going to also have beneficial effects on your skin. So it's more so the educational than the kind of hard line that people within the vegan community do tend to go down. So I don't think no one wants to be told, this is, this is the best thing. You need to do this my way or the highway. It's more the educational approach that I take.
And people have choices.
Exactly. Everyone's got freedom of choice. Exactly.
But I've always been into natural things anyway for skincare. But that's great. So you said you're going through all these. So in your first year, you've got all these awards and in magazines and things, and you were voted the best facial oil of 2020, which is absolutely fantastic, especially in your first year. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that kind of came around. I work with a fantastic PR agency called Black-owned PR agency, actually, called Lima Comms. And they've just been with me from my journey from the beginning when I first launched my first business. And I remember my PR manager just messaged me, because that's how we kind of market the glow. So I use quite a lot of social media influencers. I also do a lot of PR with different beauty editors and journalists. So she just reached out and said that one of the editors wanted to try some of our products. And I remember just sending a gift box on like the off chance and be like, oh, that would be nice if like they feature it. I never thought that they would then award it, because it was Women's Health magazine. I never thought that they would then award it. So when it came out, when I got the email, I was surprised. I really was. Still, I just can't. It's so surreal that something that originally I created for myself, having worked in Amazon and being, in artificial light, not having fresh air, and how it affected my skin, has then been credited such a prestigious award. So it's really lovely, and I shout about it all the time now. So
good, you should. You deserve it. You've worked hard to kind of get it going. But no, thank you very much. So I'll be definitely looking to get some of anything that's flavored like coconut, especially. So me and Suzy, we're fighting over that.
It's very much sugar. It's delicious.
But so thank you very much.
It sounds absolutely
yes. And I'm going to pass over to Sandra now.
It sounds fab. I've got to say, Roshan, your skin is glowing, so I can take it with your own products. It looks fab, and I said that to you the last time I met you.
Thank you.
Just to ask you, have you got another product coming out at the moment? What's your next plan?
Yeah, so we've actually got 4 products. So we've got 4 products coming in, and it's kind of like a collaboration. Kind of like a collaboration with our community as well. I asked them at the end of last year, like, what products would you like to see from the glossary? And the top ones that I then went away and started working on. So they're coming at the end of the month, which is really actually really exciting. And there's another one coming later on in the year, which are going to be our first lifestyle product as well. So yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error. It's been a lot of ups and downs. Like my poor mum and sister have been running to them, being like, what does this smell like? Do you like this? What about the skin feel of this? But everything's finally kind of like on its final journey now. So I'm really excited about that too.
Brilliant, you're an inspiration. I've got these bags under my eyes. So me and you need to chat. I need you to. I've always had bags since I've got makeup on. I've always had bags since I was a young girl, and they've never gone. And obviously, I'm getting older. I need help with them. So can you think of a product that you can make? Just think about it, okay?
I will.
Brilliant. But listen, look, you've been involved in World Environment Day. That was 2021. What did that entail?
So that just involved, we partnered with it's a not-for-profit organisation called One Tree Planted, and what they do is for every product that I sold during that time, I would then donate a tree that would then be planted in the Amazon rainforest. So the Amazon rainforest is like one of the second largest areas of biodiversity in the world. It's where most of the natural ingredients that I do use in our products come from. So I think it was like a really nice circle back to the gifts that Mother Nature gives us, because without Mother Nature, I wouldn't be able to have my products. I wouldn't be able to have achieved the successes that I have. So that's one of the ideas that I always wanted to have, the sustainability kind of like element to the brand, because it just didn't make sense to me that I would take from Mother Nature and not, give back in any way.
It sounds like you're 100% on it. I'm aware of the time. Final question. I want to know, what advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to start their own business? I can see how young you are, and that is an inspiration in itself. So, what advice for a startup for another person?
Yeah, I would just definitely say it's kind of like returning to self. You really have to understand like what are you passionate about beyond the money, because I kind of like have this conversation with like my friends who kind of like in their 9 to 5, like they must be like, oh, you must make so much money. Like, no. Like you make money, but that comes at the end. Like there's so much more that you have to put into it. You have to really enjoy what you're doing. And I really enjoy being creative. I really enjoy skincare. So I definitely say you have to find what you're passionate about beyond finances, and then find a way that works for you. Like it took me a long time. I started initially this idea about creating cosmetics, started like 10 years ago, and it's only now that I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor. So you have to go into it thinking that, yes, I'm passionate about this. Yes, I enjoy this. And, just take it step by step, and definitely kind of use your network. I think people think that if I haven't got a rich friend, family member that can invest, this is never going to work. But have to get creative. There's someone in your circle that can refer you to someone that you want to connect to. So you just have to be really creative about that, and, build that network. Find your passions, and you just got to go for it. Don't let people tell you that it's not going to work, because it will. If you know that within yourself, you see yourself at a final destination, you have to continuously work towards that.
That is such an empowering answer. It's just like sheer dedication. Look, for what we're going to do, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed it, and obviously we can see that where we can find your website, the grocery shop. It's on screen now if everybody's looking. Let's bring back Jenny Russell, so we've got all us ladies together. I know that Derek obviously didn't make it. He must have had internet issues, so obviously that's why he didn't make it. So we're sorry that we didn't have Derek Clement with us today. Can we bring back Jenny to the show? She's sitting quietly waiting in the green room there.
Roshan, just a quick question before we bring Jenny in. I didn't quite catch the name of your you went with a black-owned PR agency.
Yeah.
Who was it again?
Lima Comms. Should I LIMACOMMS?
Lima Comms. Great.
Yeah.
That might be a useful shout out, and it's great that you're giving props to other people who've helped you on your journey. I think that's really great. We've got it here, Lima Comms. Thank you.
Brilliant. I know that brilliant. We've got us all now. We can see everybody properly. So look, I want to ask you. Now that we're all back on screen, and we're running out of time, but I just want to ask both of you one question. Now, if you could be anywhere in the world, obviously with everything that's happened, where would it be? Jenny, I'm going to ask that question to you first of all.
Barbados.
Oh wow! Straight away.
That's where I was supposed to be this year. I'm going to Bournemouth instead, but it's a B still. Well, it'll do. Yeah, wicked. It's a good answer. Roshan, what about you?
It would definitely be Ibiza for me, because that's where I done my summer abroad, and that's where the ideas about working the creative juices returning to self and manifested. So definitely.
Love it.
Can I just say something?
I think she's a bit of a party girl as well. The Ibiza thing. I'm just wondering. I've got to say it.
Can I just say something very quickly? Roshan, I'm really, I was listening to you. You're absolutely amazing. And it's funny, we run workshops. I've got a workshop next week. Actually, we run workshops, Finding Your Purpose. And that's exactly what it is. We do this, Finding Your Purpose. What one word would really describe who you want to become or who you wish to become? Because that one word really kind of tells you and then takes you on a whole mastermind journey. So I run them all the time. That's on the website as well. But that's, actually finding that purpose. And like you said, it's not that it comes overnight. You've got to plant. If the tree's going to go to the sky, the higher it goes, the deeper the roots have to be. So that means the more you've got to dig in. But, you guys, fantastic. It's your second show. So again, you didn't just think about it on last week, Monday, and say, I want to do a show next, on Sunday. The whole thing has to be born, the infrastructure, the planning, finding people, the networking, as Roshan mentioned, and then it all comes together. Once it comes together, and you can start to see the fruit comes, but it's not the fruit you enjoy. Well, you enjoy the fruit, but it's the root that makes it possible.
We've certainly got Ultravision UK to think about. That's well, Ultravision TV. That they're the inspiration behind this as well. Thank you very much, Jenny. Look, we want to let you know that our next show is the 25th of July. That's the end of July, and we haven't decided on our guests yet, but we know that there will be amazing guests. We would like to thank both of you, Jenny, everything that you've told us today about pelvic floor. I mean, I'm doing my exercises. Every time I say the word, I'm doing the exercises. So we'd like to thank you. You are an inspiration. It's a top-to-toe thing, and that has been really important to let everybody know that. Roshan, thank you very much. Keep up the great work. I mean, your own beauty product, it's amazing. Vegan as well. I mean, what more can we ask for? I don't know if Suzy or Angela want to say anything else before we end, but do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we actually say goodbye to our guests?
I just wanted just a quick thing. Where did you come up with a name for the glossary? Is that something?
Yeah, so it's funny. There's where I live. There's like outdoor fruit and veg markets, and I just remember seeing a sign, and it said like green grocery, and I was just like, it dropped. It reminds me of skin, and then grocery.
Yes,
fruit and vegetable ingredients. So yeah, it works.
Wow, that's amazing.
Fab, absolutely fab.
Awesome. It's been fantastic hearing from both of you. And I think that, you're both entrepreneurs, and I think, but the thing that's come across strongly to me today is being very authentic. And I think the success of any business is how hard and firmly you believe in it, even when things are going down. I mean, launching this in lockdown, but you were still so clearly focused. And yourself, Jenny, you're clearly very focused. And you've built this up, and you're producing the books, and we're here today. And as you go along, that the influence gets wider and wider and wider. But it's never a quick thing. It always takes time and perseverance. And it's a really strong message for other entrepreneurs who might be listening today. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much. I agree as well. And the other thing is, one of the things I do want to say is you've made it sort of a little bit less taboo that we can talk about the pelvic floor. It has to be spoken about, and we mustn't hide behind it. So thank you very much once again to our guests. Thank you for taking the time to come on. We've really
very much. Yes.
And we want to say to everybody that's watching, do stay safe, look after yourselves in these really, really difficult times. So thank you for joining us as well. And we shall see you in a month's time at the end of July. Look forward to seeing you then.
Amen.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.